Hey Andy, how are you today?
I'm
How's
doing
it
great.
going so far?
Going good. I love your pad. It's so cool.
Oh, do you? You know what? I just moved, so I'm
Oh,
getting
congrats.
getting things organized around here. I usually have more like movie posters and things, but I decided to go for the. Actually, this poster behind me is a Toronto International Film Festival
Nice. It's
poster.
really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it was
That's
one of my
exciting.
faves. One of my
Yeah,
faves.
that's
Um,
beautiful.
Thank you. Listen, congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
What a riot. And I listen, I love the cast. So it just even made it that more special for me. Everybody is so good in this film. But I want to
Awesome.
start by asking you this because looking at some of the other films that you've made before this one, more of the horror genre,
Yep.
not really this. This is something a little bit new and more fun. Well, they're both fun
No,
genres.
much
But
more fun.
yeah, what steered you kind of in this direction for
Yeah.
this one?
Well, it was always sort of steering in that direction. Like comedy has always been my favorite genre. I've always wanted to make comedy films. But it was it's a tricky thing when you're starting out as a filmmaker to get films off the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And making really low budget comedies is not is it's harder to kind of get success in that realm than it is to make a horror movie where the horror audience is much more generous with not having name actors and stuff like that. And so for me it was really about like my goal was like I need to make this one so that I can make another one, like I and so we started in that genre. And really what ended up happening is that as we started making these scary movies, which were very challenging for me because it's not kind of my natural, like my
Yeah.
natural inclination. We fell in love with hanging out in the horror community because horror fans are the coolest fans in the world. And we go to these horror conventions and these horror festivals, and people are so awesome. And so then it just kind of it sort of went from there. But I was always angling, and Funhouse Massacre is a horror comedy, and Witness Infection's a horror comedy, and so I was always
Right.
sort of veering in that direction. And so when the opportunity for Molly Singer came along, I was like, this is my one.
Well, this is kind of a horror for any parent sending a child to college,
That's
don't you
true.
think?
Very true. Very true. And we got the kid from Insidious to do it. So he had skills going in. It was so funny. I haven't seen the new Insidious movie, but Ty called me and he's like, "Bro, it's hilarious. Like I went from Molly Singer to being dropped off at a frat party with Stu to being dropped at a frat party with a ghost." And he's like, "I guess I know where I'm supposed to be right now."
Yeah, he's great in it. And yeah, those Insidious movies. I'm not a horror fan. I mean, I watch them when I kind of have to if I'm doing an interview and stuff. But I gotta say, the Insidious ones are pretty darn good.
Oh, they're so good. I mean, they're so effective. They're so scary.
They really,
I
really
watch
are.
I watch horror movies. My wife constantly teases me because I watch horror. The other day we went and saw a movie and they played the trailer for The Nun 2. Hid my
Oh
eyes in
God.
the trailer. In the trailer, I hid my eyes. I was like, nope, nope, not for me.
With you, my friend, I gotta say. So okay, so I'm watching this, and like I said, it is technically a horror for anybody sending their kid to college or whatever, because what happens in this is just college crap, things that go on. But how much of your reality is infused into this film?
Definitely, like, I mean, I definitely felt like Elliot, stepping onto campus, the nervousness and stuff like that. There are stories that are directly driven. The story that Molly tells Elliot when they're trying to get him to go to the bar, and she's like, "Well, it's never too late for a second chance." And she tells a story about Polly getting drunk and getting lost in his freshman dorm.
Right. Yeah.
100% true story. So I went to Northern Arizona University, and the freshman dorm was called McConnell Hall,
Yeah.
and it was like clearly designed, and the architect was clearly a sociopath. And so it was like it was shaped like almost like a Mercedes-Benz symbol with like three towers, right? Or a peace sign with three towers. And
Right.
in those towers, they would all then veer off into like a Y shape, and everything was connected by bathrooms in the middle of the place. So
Oh
if you went
God.
in one door into the bathroom and then didn't come back out that same door, you went to a whole other wing of the dorm, and you were lost. You could not get back unless you went back through the bathroom. It was like this crazy labyrinth. Like I half expected David Bowie with like a little glass ball to be like, "Good luck in here, buddy." And kids would get lost all the time. And so I had to bring that story directly into the movie for sure.
That's a movie in itself,
Oh
I
yeah.
think.
Oh for sure. Oh for sure. And then The other thing is tequila sunrise is like
Yeah,
that's a tradition at my college where during homecoming, homecoming day, the idea was that everybody works late on the floats and then the bars open up at 5 a.m. on
right.
so that's another like direct lift from my college.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. So like I said, your cast is great. I've been interviewing Britt since she's like just starting. She's
Oh,
so good and
oh
how
good.
she's just evolved and she's wonderful. It's infectious to just watch her because even though she's being such a jerk in this film, and like you've graduated, you got a good job, grow
Yep,
up, but you
yep,
know what I mean? She's got to learn
yep,
her lesson. I get it, but you still love her and you're still rooting for her.
yep.
Was she always, your first choice for this
Yeah.
role?
I think she was probably the second person to get the script, and it was like 2 weeks after we sent it off, and we were on a Zoom, and I didn't want anybody else, and I've always been a huge fan of her, loved her
Yeah.
in Tomorrowland, and then there was this Shonda Rhimes show called We the People, and it got
Yes.
canceled way too freaking early because she was so good in it, man.
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
And so yeah, I feel so lucky because I'm just it every, I think I said this in another interview is like everybody in this movie I was a fan of. I was a fan of Nico.
Yeah.
I like Sierra Ramirez. I love the Fosters and Good Trouble. Like I
Yeah.
will text Sierra after an episode of Good Trouble and be like, "What did I just watch?" Like it's just like, and so everybody in this movie, I was just a fan of Paul Soder, Carl Salzaraki, all these guys.
Yeah. I mean, Jamie Presley, Wendy
Amy Presley.
Malick, like you
Yep,
hit the jackpot.
totally did. Yeah, and that's so due to our casting director Shannon McCaney and Gabrielle Almagar. They're amazing, and also my producing partner Warner for trusting me with the being like these are the people. Go get these people.
Yeah, yeah, and with Nico too. I mean, yeah, again, like it just hilarious guy. He's so funny. Like loved
Hopefully,
watching him in Superstore and just whatever he does, he's so funny. I know at the I'm urging everybody to watch this movie right to the end because the credits are hilarious with the
yeah.
bloopers. But I'm sure there were a million more. Like, how do you get through scenes with this cast, especially somebody like Nico, and not just keep cracking up and cracking up?
So my script supervisor Annie punched me in the arm several occasions because I was laughing too close to like I was surprised that the boom guy didn't like whack me with the boom pole. There were so many times that they would say something that was just completely improv, and I would laugh. I do this thing. I'm like like I just do this, and I'm sure it got picked up every once in a while because yeah, it was impossible. They're so funny, and they're just constantly throwing out ideas and they'll come up and be like, oh, I had this idea. I wrote this last night. What do you think of this? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And that
Yeah.
was really kind of my goal was, when my DP and I sat down, Fleet Vanduel, I said, I want to maximize takes. So like, let's minimize setups. Like, let's really block this out so that it's visually interesting, but we're not doing a ton of setups and we're not swinging a ton of lenses and stuff like that, so that we can just have time to let these actors do what they want to do.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask about too. To me, it seems like you're a very open guy, and you're open to collaboration with the cast. If they had ideas,
Oh,
is that how it went?
absolutely. I mean, one of the best parts of the movie, I think, is the speech that Nico gives Molly at the end, about exactly what you're talking about. It's time to grow up. It's time to
Yeah,
move on. That speech was completely different. He and his husband Zeke wrote that,
Zeke
and
from Survivor.
from Survivor, yeah, baby. And he brought it to me, and I was like, dude, this is beautiful. Yes, let's do this. This is so great. And I just when you have actors that do that, like they care so much about it because at the end of the day, it's a job.
Right.
They could easily just show up and do their lines and go home, and
Yeah.
that was not it. That everybody else they brought so much to the table. I mean, one of the scenes that broke my heart, and someone else that wrote a scene, Wendy Malick has a whole second scene in the movie, and you see a little bit of it in the blooper reel when Britt comes back to bring her groceries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the whole scene was they're sitting down and she makes Britt's character some tea, and Britt is at this like crux of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do here. And Wendy, basically says, you look so much different. You feel so much different. Like you feel like you fit into your clothes better all of a sudden. Like this idea, like you fit in your life better. and it was
Right.
a really touching scene, and they were amazing. But then I had that exact same scene with Jamie, and I had that exact same scene with Nico right after, and it was just like too much.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had to lose it, but it breaks my heart because it was so.
Yeah. But you know what? Stick it on the director's cut or
There
something
we
like
go.
that.
There we go. Perfect.
There's always an opportunity, Andy.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
I'm watching this and I'm getting like a sense of some of your maybe, people you looked up to, directors growing up and watching, and people you loved. And I got that kind of Kevin Smithy feel. Like,
Oh yes. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, tell me a little bit about some of the
Yeah,
directors that
yeah.
have influenced
The
you.
guys that like when I fell in love with film, Kevin Smith, Richard Linklater, Edward Burns, like
Right.
those guys. And then Robert Rodriguez too. Just I
Oh,
remember reading Rebel Without a Crew on a family vacation and very declaratively putting the book down after finishing and be like, I would like to drop out of college and go make my film. And my dad was like, finish your eggs. And I was like, okay, I'll finish my eggs instead. So yeah, those were the guys, like that crew of just we're just gonna go out and do it.
yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. In terms of this one, was there any scene, anything that just kind of, I don't know, not so much challenge you, because I know you're having a lot of fun making this and stuff, but I would think like the scene with the mascot was pretty hilarious. The
Yeah.
booze-a-thon, like that what was it called? The booze,
The booze cathlon.
booze capilon. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay. Like I'm sorry. I was a pretty good girl in university, so I didn't partake in these things. But
understood.
that just like, oh my God, just so much debauchery in this movie. It was
Yes, yes, we
hilarious.
definitely, and I think a lot of that too is like, I was like you, I was probably a little bit more conservative in college and stuff like that. I did play King's Cup. That was my jam because for whatever reason I could drink a copious amount of alcohol and still rhyme stupid things and stuff like that. So I was good at that. But I think also like Todd, our writer producer, I think not knowing him that long, but I think Todd had the Molly college experience. Like Todd, I think was like he had the college experience because so many of these stories are just ripped from his years and stuff like that. And I always love the high school movie where the mascot gets stolen. Like that's always like a trope. And I was
Right.
like, they kidnapped the mascot. That would be hilarious. So it was
Yeah.
just the whole movie is just this kind of what if we did these kind of these crazy
Yeah.
things.
And it all works because it all works in the context of the film. So what are you now thinking beyond this? Like, are you working on something, writing, directing? What are
Yeah,
you
I
thinking?
mean, I cannot wait to be on the set again. It's like
Yeah, I'm sure.
it's been a few years, and I'm very lucky. I get creatively stimulated. I edit a lot of TV. I'm editing a super fun show called F Boy Island for CW right now, and it's
Cool.
like this hilarious version of The Bachelor. So I like that. But I have this movie that I wrote with Ben Bagley, who wrote Funhouse Massacre. And it's really near and dear to my heart because my dad told me to write it 15 years ago, and I
Wow.
never did. I procrastinated. But it's a family comedy, and it's called Bite Me, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
literally like about a family that's torn apart by the professional bass fishing league, but they have to come back together in the same league because bass fishing's such a popular sport. I'm like, why hasn't there been a movie about this yet?
Sounds great. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really, really appreciate it. This movie is a scream. Lots of fun.
Thank you.
Best of luck with it. And hopefully we'll be talking to you for the next one. That sounds like
I
fun. So
will
I
I
look
would
forward
love
to
it,
that.
and I can't wait to see what your apartment looks like on the next one.
You got it. I'll give you another angle next time. I'll give you the CN Tower off my
Oh,
balcony.
I
How's
like
that?
that. Dang,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Can't go wrong. Take
Yep.
care. Lovely speaking with you. Have
Good
a
talking
good
with you.
day. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Okay. Take care. Bye, everyone.